Hi everyone, it's Quickie Baby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we have the pleasure of watching Dermix fall David, who is going to be playing in their Object 705A, and you might notice that Dermix is going to be using a rather unusual build for the Object 705A, and that is they're going to be using Spall Liner, Grousers, and a Bond Turbo on this tank. And it also looks like they're using a Snapshot Directive, I believe, there. Or is it the Smooth Ride one? I can't quite tell. Either or, it's going to be improving the horrible movement or the turret traverse dispersion on this vehicle. So, Dermix 4 is not using vents, not using a gun rammer, not using a durability device, but I really like this build. I use a build just like this on my E50M. The only thing that I do is actually end up using a durability device instead of the Grousers on that tank. Because I really feel like I hate it when I'm going in for a ram and my opponents manage to track me. But this build with Dermix, it's bold, it's beautiful, it's a build which I love to use on an IS-7, right? Drop that med kit, use that Spall Liner to be able to get into position. And as long as you have Mentor now, which used to be Jack of all trades, if you lose a crew member, it's not the end of the world because the commander manages to take over that role for the vehicle. And the Spall Liner massively reduces not only the ramming damage you receive, not only the amount of high explosive damage you receive that we might be seeing later on in the battle, but also protects your crew, so you don't need to worry so much about your crew dying or artillery giving you a headache. And this thing, it takes a lot of artillery damage because I believe it has a field mod that you take the extra speed on this tank, but it increases, which you must take. You must take 2 kilometers an hour faster, in my opinion, on this vehicle, as well as the whole traverse speed. But it means that you end up taking 15% more increased HE shell damage, and also means that you receive 15% more ramming, the crew protection from injuries and stun. So the Spall Liner really does help on this tank. Because it does lose crew members quite a lot without it, because of that field mod making the crew that 20% more vulnerable. So, 705A. I'm not sure if I've even featured this tank that much on the channel. It's a tank that I absolutely used to despise until I dropped the gun rammer and I ended up starting using durability vents and turbo on this tank. Now, Dermix is dropping the durability, dropping the vents, and just going for that full speed build to allow them to use the fuel, giving this thing a monstrous power to weight ratio. A lot of people don't realize this tank weighs 100 tons. Without equipment. Obviously with the Spall Liner, it's going to be going up a little bit here for Dermix's build. And so this thing rams like an absolute god tier tank. And with a steady hand like Dermix has, you can make up for the lack of accuracy that you'll be losing by not taking the vents. You can make up for the fact that you'll have poor gun handling by not using vert stabs. And with a tank like this that's really not focused on its damage per minute, it's got 2,100 damage per minute. I feel like this is kind of like the ideal candidate for a meme build, or just an ideal candidate for still taking a competitive build, but just dropping the gun rammer on this vehicle and trying to focus what the tank is actually meant to be about. And that is using its speed to control the engagement, and also hopefully being able to side scrape with a durability device. Although, you know, Dermix just wants to meme around here, and he's probably going to make more of a meme of the enemy team, at least within this regard. And at the end of the day, none of your equipment can improve the armor of a vehicle. Sure, you can improve the hit points a little bit, but nothing can change the raw armor that a vehicle has. And that is the 705A's forte. It's its absolute strength, is this side-scraping capacity. As Dermix has already managed to bounce 4,800 damage and deal nearly 4,000 damage to the enemy team in this alleyway fight. Now, they are using a lot of heat rounds here, but it's necessary in this kind of a scenario. 317mm a pen vastly outperforms the 256, although as these AP rounds are 152mm, if you do know some 50mm plates on the enemy team, like, for example, the top of the 60 TP turret, then you will be able to overmatch that part of the armor. All right, so 2 angry tier 10 tanks coming around the corner, and they're just thinking, like, where do I shoot this? And that's because he's spamming heat. If he was firing AP, he probably could have gone through the tracks there, so maybe he should have intuition switched. Dermix slaps around to punish the tier 10 Chinese heavy tank, the WZ-1115A, who seems to have had enough of this, and Dermix, he's coming to get you. But luckily, Dermix has an STRV, a pocket sniper up in the corner, and the 452K, who has been frustrated the living daylights out of, spams another heat round into Dermix's tank. Oh my goodness gracious. Just absolute pixel perfect play. Dermix says, lol. Yeah, I would be lolling as well. You are making a meme out of them so far, Dermix, that's for sure. With this kind of build as well, it's pretty ridiculous. But just absolutely perfect play of this tank there. To know that that side armor can give you good heat protection, to know what kind of rounds that the enemy are spamming, and that is pretty much gold. It's funny because they were firing AP earlier when they should have been firing gold, and then they were firing gold when they should have been firing AP. That's just a huge skill issue there for the Object 452K. So now the Object 705A up to 7,300 damage blocked, and this vehicle that you don't really see that much inside the game. It's a strong tank, especially in these kind of frontal side-scraping endeavors. And because its only real weak point from the front is either good gold against the upper plate or rounds going through the lower plate, these kind of edges to the walls here, the little walls that we have, the buttresses between us and the water and the shipping yard on this Japanese port map, are perfect for trying to hide that part of the 705A. Alright, so Dermix has pretty much single-handedly kept their team in this by just creating an absolute graveyard in the center of the map there. The game is still completely neck and neck with only a few hundred hit points momentarily between the two teams as the FV405 called Oleg Papa shuts down Dermix. So Dermix is going to use Intuition here to switch out. I believe they've got an HE round loaded, and this will do a monstrous amount of damage if they're able to connect to the turret. But ooh, it actually misses the turret and only does 223 damage to the FV405's hull. And that, unfortunately, is the downside of taking a meme build. You won't have the extra accuracy that, for example, you could have on the vents in that regard, and you won't have the extra rate of fire power or rate of fire to be able to pump in another shell, possibly before the FV405 managed to scurry away. But just look at the mobility that the 705A has. It really dances with this build a bit more like a medium tank, honestly, rather than, or at least a faster heavy rather than a slow one. And oh dear, Dermix definitely not trading well with these high explosive rounds and gets tagged in the butt by a K91. This tank, all of its armor is focused at the front, and due to Wargaming's arguable overbuff of the K91, the K91 is going to put a second shot in, but luckily the armor absorbs it. Okay, Centurion Action 10 coming. Dermix is going to switch to heat. That's the perfect option for being able to deal with that British hull. But Dermix definitely didn't trade well with those HE. Managed to do less than 500 damage, just over 450 damage. But, oh, hello, Grilla! That one managed to go in, but unfortunately, wrong round for the job there. A heat shell, and they take a shot from the Gorilla, they take a shot from the K91, and it looks like it is all coming undone now that Dermix has left that linear fight down the passage and is now having to deal with multiple opponents from different angles. Looking rough. Interestingly, we have a Foch B berating the 60 TP on Dermix's team, who seems to just be sitting in base right now, overseeing the rest of their team actually doing what you're meant to do in World of Tanks, which is to try and be active and try and win the game, right? But maybe there's been some kind of drama that I haven't seen about the 60 TP earlier on. No, everyone's been saying WTF 60 TP from the start of the battle. Well, maybe the 60 TP is going to come in like a guardian angel at the end, right? And be able to take this one down. Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. So, Dermix now down to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 hit points. Just slightly more than Dermix needs. And yeah, if the K91 or the Gorilla had rolled any higher, Dermix would have definitely been wishing they were using a durability device. But who knows? Maybe this mobility is going to come in handy for later on in the battle. And who's to say that that spore liner they were using didn't protect them a little bit from that HE shell from the 452K? So they've actually profited from that? I think you might be pushing it a little bit there. But look, Dermix is doing more with a meme build than I think I've probably ever done with a 705A. So maybe I need to become like the full meme. It's funny because when I use this build, this exact build, on my IS-7 with its ludicrous top speed, I actually end up getting like a mid 60% win ratio. But when I try and sweat in the 705A, I probably only get like mid 50s. So, maybe Dermix is showing that this isn't truly actually a meme build anyway. Whoa, heat round bouncing off the butt of the tank, and Dermix punishes the K91 that managed to penetrate them a couple of times earlier. And this is where the action gets going. The UDES falls. Now Dermix is surrounded by 3 enemy vehicles with the support of a self-propelled gun as well. What is Dermix going to do? Dermix just says, well, yeah, it's happening, Dermix. This is the end. They're all going to come for you. How are you going to handle an FE405 who's on most of all of their hit points because you fired HE and missed rather than went for those AP shells? I still think it was the correct thing to do to go for the HE there. But then again, the HE, it's like an extra 190 damage compared to the AP. Is it worth risking all of that to be able to gain it? Possibly. But who cares right now as Dermix starts off this kind of frenetic fight with an AFK 60 TP. And, okay. It's a formality. 4005's coming around the corner with a Centurion behind. Oh, maybe not. The artillery manages to put a shell in. The Centurion lurches around the corner, bounces a shell off the front with heat, and now the FE405's coming in. Dermix rams the FE405 for 165 damage and uses his gun to block an HE shell from the 4005. Now, they're loading AP and not HE. What's their plan? The artillery does a little bit, and Dermix actually manages to ram the FE4005 with that speed build just enough, managing to do what looks like probably about nearly 400 ramming damage there. Just shy of 400 ramming damage with those micro bumps. And so that is where the meme build doesn't make Dermix a meme, it makes the enemy team a meme. Oh god, send in more clowns. It's a whole circus right now. The Object 261 trying to go in. And the STRV-103B says, time to shine, 60 TP. All right, having dealt with the artillery, now Dermix has to deal with a full health STRV-103B. And that 60 TP is still sitting in base. So Dermix, who's been on 4 hit points for like the last 4 tanks that have come in after him, now has to try and deal with a full health STRV-103B, albeit with an artillery coming into support, with arguably a bot 60 TP that the whole of Dermix's team is ridiculing now. But I haven't seen Dermix show any kind of frustration. They've been such a chill player. They look like such an absolute dude of World of Tanks. That STRV spots the artillery. Dermix fluffs the shot around the corner, although I feel like that was a shot that probably should have been taken. And I like what Dermix is doing right now. If you're wondering why they're facing their armor this way, it's because they know they have to kite. They have to kite the STRV. That's their best way to avoid the STRV. They have to shoot them at least 3 times to be able to get them out of this game. Well, now 2 shots after that. And that's just perfect heads-up play, showing why Dermix is an incredible player to know, okay, I don't keep my armor towards the STRV, I have to be ready to kite him. And even if I make my armor slightly weaker, it's still going to be better. Oh, beautiful stuff there. This is where that 152mm gun comes in handy with those AP shells, able to just go straight through the STRV with overmatching most of their tank. And there's only about 2 plates on the upper hull that could actually possibly be able to ricochet. So what I love that Dermix is doing now is he's actually looking and he's wanting his Batchat to go hold down on him. I mean, I'm gonna have to pause it. That's just beautiful. Look, Dermix isn't thinking I'm gonna block this artillery and like get an 11k game. They're thinking like I can go hold down and protect the artillery as much as possible and make sure I'm not blocking them. Dermix is an absolute dude, boys and girls. He's an absolute dude. He's come in here with an absolute meme build on the 705A, and they've turned the whole of the enemy team into a big freaking meme. Oh, this was one of my favorite replays of the year. I loved it. Like 11,000 damage that we saw, 8,000 damage blocked, fired a plethora of rounds, a good amount of heat, but also a good amount of AP in the situation. Dermix, one of my favorite games of the year, dude. Congratulations to you on this mammoth round and taking a meme build and turning your opponents into a complete meme in this game. So Dermix, congratulations to you on this epic round. You definitely did make an absolute joke out of the enemy here. And thank you so much for uploading the replay on the What Record Quickie Baby section of the website. I knew when I saw this I want to make a YouTube video out of it. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for uploading this one. And hopefully all of you out there enjoyed this game. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Monday, I'm going to be going live all day with brand new pumpkin drops tokens on twitch.tv/QuickieBaby. So come along, get some loot and enjoy some games at the start of the week. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.